What's up, folks, and welcome back to Dyce Reacts, where we are staying in Australia tonight. Oh yeah, we are going to be checking out 100 wild facts about Australia you never knew. Very much time, checks one out. We ain't going to waste no more time. Just going to get right into it, folks. We're going to get right into it. Oh yeah.
What's good, y'all? Tristan here, and today we are back with part 2 of 100 sick, crazy, cool, awesome facts about Australia. If you haven't seen the first one where I talk about the first 50 really cool facts about Australia, you can check it out right there. Without further ado, let's get into it. The second 50 sick facts about Australia. Number 51 is that nearly 30% of Australians were born abroad. That's nearly 1/3 of the population here. Kinda crazy. 52 is that Australia is still part of the Commonwealth, so the Queen of England, being the head of state here, could technically overthrow the entire government if she wanted to and call for a re-election. Matter of fact, in 1975 there were some problems here in Australia, and yeah, Queen of England.
Yeah, so that's the second part. I don't think I've done the first part, so I'm gonna check the first part after. But he mentioned, I don't know if it was he who mentioned about the 40% being of Australians born abroad, or another person. I'm not too sure, but I'm gonna have to check the other one as well. Yeah, we'll take it back just a bit.
Matter of fact, in 1975 there were some problems here in Australia, and yeah, Queen of England called for a re-election of the government here. I am an American now living here in Australia, and Americans get a lot of shit for being really fat. We are one of the fattest countries in the world at 36% obesity rate. Well, I think our obesity problem lets Australia kind of slide under the radar a little bit because they are also a very obese country. The obesity rate here is 29%, so almost 1 in 3 people in Australia are obese. Another one is that both kangaroos and emus cannot walk backwards, and that is actually why they are on Australia's coat of arms. It is to signify progression, like always moving forwards. Something super basic about Australia, but also kind of hard to conceptualize is, look at a map of Australia. It looks like it's much wider than it is tall. But matter of fact, Australia is almost just as long north to south as it is east to west, just being 300 kilometers wider than it is tall. Next up is here in Australia, they have exploding trees. I know, I didn't believe it either when I first heard it, but the eucalyptus trees here, which is the trees that koalas live in and eat, they have an oil in them that is very flammable, so sometimes during forest fires and stuff, when the tree is on fire, it can kind of explode. Now, something I've really enjoyed learning about in my time in Australia is the Aboriginal people and Aboriginal culture. Before coming to Australia, I didn't even know anything. I didn't even know Aboriginals existed. I'd never even heard of them. But there are lots of really cool facts about them, and I feel like this list would kind of be incomplete if I did not include some cool Aboriginal facts. So here are 5 cool facts about Aboriginal. First, it is the oldest living population and oldest living culture, and things show that they've been here in Australia for about 60,000 years. Before Western colonization, there were about 500 Aboriginal tribes here, and they spoke 250 different languages with about 800 total dialects. Aboriginals were the inventors of the boomerang. They used it for hunting so that whenever they threw it trying to kill something, it would come back if they had ever missed. They also invented the didgeridoo, which is one of the world's oldest known instruments. They have very rich culture and art, and they are actually paintings that they have found that are 30,000 years old. Now, while there are a lot of really cool, awesome facts about Aboriginals and they have a very rich history, there's also a much darker, kind of more modern history with Aboriginals ever since colonialization, and I feel like it just wouldn't be right to talk about Aboriginal history and culture without mentioning any of the more sad and unfortunate recent history that's happened with Western colonization. The reality is just like in many other colonized countries like America, the indigenous people have been very mistreated. They're 10 years shorter than the life expectancy of non-Aboriginal Australians. Hey, future Tristan here, and I just wanted to clarify, I realized I said some things wrong when originally recording. So the life expectancy for Aboriginals has actually increased a little bit recently, so it is no longer 10 years less than non-Aboriginals. For men, it is 8.5 years less, and for women, it is about 8 years less than non-Aboriginal Australians. But another really sad and just, almost unbelievable stat about Aboriginals' life expectancy is currently about almost half of Aboriginal men aren't reaching the age of 45, and about 1/3 of Aboriginal women aren't reaching the age of 45. Currently, the median age for Aboriginals is 60 years old. Then the next sad fact that I said about Aboriginals, I realized was kind of 2 facts that I put into one, and it wasn't fully accurate, so I just wanted to re-say it, and that is, I was talking about the 1967 Aboriginal referendum here in Australia. So pretty much what that was, is it was a referendum that considered Aboriginals as like part of the population here in Australia. But the sad part about it that I said that thankfully isn't fully true is I said it was legal to kill Aboriginals up until that point, which that is not the case. That was like, it was never legal to kill Aboriginals. But what I wanted to say that is sad is that there were tons of there are tons of massacres against Aboriginals all throughout the 1800s and 1900s, up to as recently as 1960. That's at least when like the last big one was. But I just kind of combined those facts, which was not true. Now back to some more lighter fun facts about Australia. And that is that Australia has lots of really cool inventions. I didn't even realize how many cool inventions were here in Australia. One being Google Maps. That was actually started in Australia before Google bought it. The first cochlear implant was also invented here in Australia. Okay. Australians also invented the electric drill. They invented the ultrasound scanner and also plastic banknotes. They have really good money here in Australia, and they actually print notes for many other countries. More Australian inventions include the electronic pacemaker and black boxes and like for like flight records. They've also invented dual flush toilets. Qantas, an Australian airline, invented the inflatable escape slides like on airplanes in case of an emergency landing. And something I didn't even know was an invention, but I don't know, I guess it was, is this, which is, you're probably like, what is that, like shorts, pants? No, this is a permanently creased clothing. Yeah, permanently creased clothing was invented here in Australia. Yeah, I didn't even know that was an invention, but yeah, it is. Something else that they are really famous for inventing is they invented Wi-Fi technology. So all you people watching this video on Wi-Fi right now, make sure you give a little bit of gratitude to Australia. I've mentioned this in many of my videos, and Australians are probably getting tired of me saying this, so I promise this will be the last video I ever mention this in, and that is despite them inventing Wi-Fi and all this stuff, the Wi-Fi in Australia is actually really slow. The average speed is behind Thailand, India, Kazakhstan, Latvia, Vietnam. It's like almost like half the average of the world. It's super slow, but they do have plans to get it faster, so hopefully in the next couple of years that will be changed. And they also have really good.
Give the Aussies a break, man, when it comes to the slow Wi-Fi. Give them a break. It could be where you are, man, in Australia, or the service provider. I mean, come on, man. Give them a break. I can understand why the Aussies are frustrated with you, man. Give them a break, man, on the Wi-Fi and the slow Wi-Fi.
4G mobile data, so I guess that makes up for it a little bit. Next up is Fraser Island here, which is a beautiful island here. If you come, you have to see it. I love my time on Fraser, but it is the world's largest sand island at 75 miles long. Next up is Flinders Street Station, which is one of the most like iconic places in one of Australia's biggest cities. It actually wasn't supposed to look the way it looked, so this is how it turned out, but the design company, which was based in England, actually mistook the plans for the Flinders Street Station with Mumbai's, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but that.
Yes, it looks like a Middle Eastern type of building, type of architecture, like especially from the top coming down. Because I was about to say, it's that somewhere in Middle East. Like it really looked like that. So I thought it was like a blend of those two cultures, but it was a mistake. Man, someone's gotta be sued right there.
The Flinders Street Station with Mumbai's, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but that place. So long story short, this is Flinders Street Station, this is the place in Mumbai, and they were supposed to kind of look like the opposite of each other, but yeah, design place got the designs all switched up, and now this is what you got. This is what Flinders Street Station looks like. 79 is that there are many pink lakes here in Australia, particularly in like the southern part and also Western Australia. These lakes are pink because of an algae that grows in them, and yeah, I don't know, I just think they're really cool. Number 80, and that is that 95% of opals, which are this cool looking rock, come from Australia. 81 is there's a festival in Melbourne called Moomba. They got this name because the governor asked a Aboriginal council what is a good name to name it, that like has some Aboriginal meaning behind it, and they came up with this, and it means like the great happy get together. But as I said, there are tons of Aboriginal languages and dialects, and in most dialects, Mumba pretty much means up your bum, up your butt. This is because mum, M-U-M, means butt in many Aboriginal dialects, and then ba means place of. So in some Aboriginal languages, like it's kind of like saying like the up your butt festival. Next up is that Melbourne actually has the largest public transit system in the world. Tasmania has the cleanest air in the world, and Australia is in the top 10 for countries that drink the most alcohol per capita. 85 is that Australia is the flattest continent in the world, and 86 is that the oldest fossil in the entire world, that the oldest fossil to ever be discovered, was found in Western Australia. And if that is not cool enough for you, in Western Australia they also found the first signs of life on Earth. It was bacteria that was discovered that was about 32 billion years old. 88 is that recently Australia had 5 prime ministers within a 5-year period. And 89 is that there are over
5 prime ministers Australia had 5 prime ministers in 5 years. How's that possible? How's that possible? You guys gotta hit me up on that. On when was that? The time period, because this is really strange. I gotta go look at it myself. But all these who know that fact, hit me up in the comments. Explain to me how was that possible.
Prime ministers within a 5-year period. And 89 is that there are over 200 languages that are actively spoken here in Australia. Obviously, English being the predominant one, but there are about 199 other ones, 45 of them being different Aboriginal languages. Number 90 is the capital of Australia, Canberra, which is it's kind of right in between Sydney and Melbourne, and it was actually specifically selected to be the capital of Australia because Melbourne and Sydney were fighting all the time for which city should be the capital, so they just kind of put it right in the middle. Speaking of Melbourne, back in 1880, Melbourne was actually the richest country in the entire world. There was a gold rush there, and yeah, helped it become the richest country in the world for a bit. 92, which is that James Cook, who is the English explorer kind of credited for really discovering Australia, wasn't actually the first European to discover Australia. There was a Dutch explorer in 1606 that actually discovered Australia, and there are several other ships that came here before James Cook did, but they never really founded it. It's kind of like Christopher Columbus gets credit in America, even though there's a lot of evidence that the Vikings were there first. It's kind of same thing here. He was credited for discovering it because he was the one that colonized it. 93 is that Australia is home to the oldest rainforest in the world. That is the Daintree rainforest, is the oldest rainforest on this planet. 94 is that the 12 apostles looks like this. It's like a famous landmark along the Great Ocean Road. There's not actually 12 apostles. There never were 12 apostles. There were only ever 8, and then one's fallen down, so now there's only 7. But for some reason, they still call these little things the 12 apostles, even though there's not 12. 95 is that Melbourne was actually ranked the most livable city in the world for 6 years in a row. It no longer has that title, but there are still 3 Australian cities that are in the top 10 most livable cities in the world. But speaking of Melbourne, even though it's not considered the most livable city in the world anymore, it is still the coffee capital of the world. They are so proud of their coffee there, and yeah, coffee capital of the world. All right, just got a couple left. Next up is the Great Barrier Reef. Is actually the largest living organism in the entire world, and it can be seen from outer space. 98 is kind of a goofy fact, but that is that they don't say shrimp here in Australia, they say prawn instead. Why I am including this is because the #1 misconception that Americans have of Australia is that people say shrimp on the bobby here when that's never said. The reason for this is because a long time ago there was this old campaign commercial, I think it was to get people trying to travel Australia. Number 99 is that Australia has fought alongside the US in every single war the US has been in since World War I. I actually didn't know this until recently, but Australia actually fought alongside the US in the Vietnam War. And the last fun fact about Australia, number 100, is related to the famous snack here, the famous little biscuit here called Tim Tams. If you haven't tried them, you definitely should because they are delicious. But the fun fact about them is that they actually got their name by this guy named Ross Arnott. He was the owner and founder of Arnott's Biscuits, which is the biscuit company that makes Tim Tams. Anyways, he was watching the Kentucky Derby back in 1958, and the winning horse of the Kentucky Derby was a horse named Tim Tam. He liked the name a lot, and so a couple years later, when they released this new biscuit of theirs, they named it Tim Tam.
This was really interesting. Really learned a lot. I don't know if everything he said, even the ones he kind of clarified, he said he made a mistake. I don't know if everything is true, because he could have mixed up other things and he find out later. I don't know if he has updated it. He mentioned the Daintree forest is the oldest rainforest in the world, and I don't think I've heard that fact. I don't think I've heard that fact before. The Great Barrier Reef, I've heard that all my life. Definitely very beautiful reef. You can see the images, the videos I've seen in past times. Very, very beautiful. But that was a great reminder because I totally forgot about that. Yes, this is the first video that actually mentioned about the Great Barrier Reef. And Tasmania has the cleanest air in the world. Wow. Is this true? I'm not saying it's far-fetched, but is it true? Tasmania has the cleanest air in the world? If that's the case, what is the reason behind it? Because I know that there are other locations across the world that have similar climate with Tasmania. So what are the other contributing factors about Tasmania, apart from it being cold, that contributes to the air being so clean and #1 in the world? I gotta know what contributes that. So this is very interesting. It's the first time I'm hearing this. But that's why I'm saying I don't know if everything he's saying is fact checked, because there are many things he said he had to go back and retract his statement. So guys, hit me up in the comments with that Tasmanian information there. Very interesting. Yeah. if you want to see that long shot and archery that I do, hit me over on Dyce Reacts, where I do music reactions. This is where I'm going to be making my exit. Until next time, peace out.